Welcome. This demo was on IBM FlashSystem partition migration. In this setup, we have three flash systems configured in a flash grid. All systems are running on code level 8.7.3.0. In this demo, we are going to migrate a Linux system running RHEL 7.9, doing around 40 to 50,000 IOPS. We're going to move it from one flash system to another. So why use this technology? Well, one major use case is migrating workloads from an older storage system to a newer one. Another great use case involves IBM Storage Insights and its Workload Placement Advisor. Based on metadata collected, and just to be clear, only system metadata is collected, not business or customer data, Storage Insights can recommend moving specific workloads from one storage system to another. What's really exciting is this can be done with zero downtime to the host. As mentioned earlier, these systems are set up in a flash grid. To take advantage of partition migration, the target storage array must also be zoned to the host. The source and target arrays need to be able to talk to each other as well. Once the two systems are in sync, I/O will be redirected to the new target array. After cutover, the only remaining task will be to clean up any failed paths for the host, and, in the interest of good storage hygiene, removal of the zoning between the host and the original array, along with the zoning that was put into place for the two flash systems. If you're decommissioning the original storage system, you'd be doing that anyway. The real benefit here is that this activity is predictable, coordinated, and a planned event. Infrastructure and business teams can agree on the timing of this event, greatly reducing risk and disruption. In our grid, we have two FS5200s and one FS9200. In our grid, our FS9200 is the grid coordinator, although that role could just as easily been assigned to one of the 5200s in the grid. It is not a requirement for the FS9200 to be the grid coordinator for this setup. For this demo, we'll be working off our FS5200 flash systems. We will walk through migrating our RHEL workload from our production FS5200 to our DR FS5200. Here we are, logged into our FS5200 DR system. We can see that there is no IOPS running on this system. If we take a look at the volumes, we have no volumes defined. Obviously, we would have no volume groups since we have no volumes defined. And then we'll take a look at our hosts. We have no hosts defined. Now let's take a look at our FS5200 prod. And here we can see we have some IOPS running. Take a look at our volumes. We have 49 volumes. Volume group, we have 7 volume groups. And we have our RHEL SBX01 partition. And this will be the partition that we will be migrating over to the target of this 5200. So when we look inside this partition, we can see we have one host defined. We take a look at our volumes. We have 6 volumes, and we have one volume group. We have no replication policies configured. I've now navigated back to the partition page, as you can see on the screen, for the RHEL SBX01 partition. You see one host, one volume group, and the 6 volumes for this partition. Partitions are a collection of objects that can be managed as one entity. So, our host is currently running on the FS5200 prod array. We observed host I/O activity and confirmed that the host, volumes, and volume group are configured within the RHEL SBX01 partition. In comparison, the FS5200 DR array has no I/O activity and there are no configured partitions, volumes, volume groups, or hosts. With the storage environment reviewed, we'll now proceed to reviewing our host. Now that I'm on the host, let's take a look at our pathing. Our display shows our RHEL host having connections to two different machine types, 2145 and 2107. Our paths for our flash system 2145 have 2 active and 2 enabled for a volume, and 4 enabled for a couple of other volumes. Now let's go back to our flash system grid and start our migration. Go to our grid page. I'm on right here. We'll go to our storage partitions. We have 4 storage partitions that we have set up on in this grid. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our partition RHEL SBX01. We can see that it's running on our FS5200 prod, and it has 1 volume group. We have no HA or DR in place for this partition. We'll click the little 3 dots to the right, and we'll click Migrate Partition. You'll be presented with a wizard. As mentioned earlier, we have a 5200DR in here as well as an FS9200. We're going to choose our FS5200DR to migrate it to. We could just as well chosen to migrate it to the FS9200, but for this demonstration, we're going to go from our prod 5200 to our DR. So I'll go ahead and click the Start Migration at the bottom right. I'll confirm that. And now the task is complete. Go ahead and sit back and let the magic begin. We'll be presented with the migration status here to the right. We can see behind here kind of grayed out that it's in progress for migration. We also see that there's a little icon here showing that we are going to be migrating from our FS5200 prod to our DR system. Let's go ahead and take a look at our host. Let's go ahead and list our pathing again to see if anything's changed. And it doesn't appear to. So we'll wait a little longer. Okay, now we're presented with the progress of it. A little more information is provided. We get the estimated completion time, 8:57 a.m. It is in progress, and we have about 180 gigabytes left to copy. And we're almost there. Note that at this point in time, we still have an option to abort this migration if for some reason something happened during the time of the data being copied from our FS5200 prod to our FS5200 DR. Okay, migration still in progress. Just waiting on things to finish. It's the current step before the system moves to the next stage of the migration. Data has been copied, and we should soon get a notification depicting the migration has been paused. All right, so now we're prompt with an action item. This action item is our time to rescan our paths from the host so the new ones are picked up for the FS5200 DR array. If we fail to do so, the migration will fail. If we were to select skip and our new paths weren't picked up, then obviously we would have issues at the host. Once our new paths are picked up, we can proceed with the migration by marking the action item as complete. Let's go to our host and do our rescan for pathing. When we redisplay our pathing, we can see there are no changes from when we started. Writes and reads are still being serviced to and from our prod array. Now let's rescan for new paths. As you can see from the rescan, we picked up 24 new paths. 6 volumes at 4 paths each brings us to the 24. When we redisplay our pathing after our scan, we can see those paths were added with the status of enabled for our DR flash system array. Now we can go back and proceed with the partition migration. This action. Close that. Back into this partition. All right. Now we're prompted with one last user response. Migration of the storage partition is pretty much complete. Basically, we need to confirm or commit this change. So we'll go ahead and click commit, or we have the option to roll back. In this case, we're going to move forward. Yes, we want to move. Go ahead and exit the storage partition. We'll go ahead and go to our rod, FS5200, see the status of that. All right, we can see there is no IOPS. We can also see that the partition is no longer present on this system. If we took a look at our volume groups, we do not have our RHEL Sandbox 01 volume group and not see the host as well. So we don't see that host. If we go back to our partition, we can see that our RHEL SBX01 is now running on our FS5200DR. If we take a look at that storage subsystem, we should see IO going to this particular flash system, and we should see obviously the volumes in the volume group. We got one volume group. The host got migrated over, and the partition looks identical to what it looked like before we did the migration. Now that we've successfully cut over, let's check our multipathing and clean up any residuals from this migration. So Mr. Pathing again. Looks like we have some failed faulty paths. So we'll go ahead and clean those up. All right. Now that the faulty paths have been removed, our path configuration is back to its original state. One volume shows 2 active and 2 enabled paths, and the other 2 volumes each show 4 enabled paths, just as we saw at the start. Recap, we had 3 flash systems in our grid. Host IO was being generated to our production FS5200. We then migrated the RHEL SBX01 partition to our DR FS5200, with IO continuing from the host throughout the process. To complete the migration, we removed the dead paths on the host that remained after the move. This concludes the demo. Thank you for watching.